Chapter 7. The cauldron recognizes its master in the days that followed. Zhang Daiban and his group continued to keep an eye on Bai Xiaochun's thatched hut. Ever since he had broken through to the second level of qi condensation, whenever he went out, he would mutter to himself for a while before returning to his quarters to continue cultivating. Inside the room, Bai Xiaochun wiped the sweat from his brow. His upper body was bare, and despite the pain coursing through him, he gritted his teeth and forced himself through the movements of the third illustration. The qi flow within his body was no longer like a small stream. It had grown into a tiny river circulating through his meridians. Each completed circulation produced creaking sounds from within his body. Once rather plump, he had slimmed down considerably, now even thinner than when he had first joined the cooking room. However, his strength had increased immensely. As his cultivation progressed, the flesh of his body subtly transformed. If one listened closely, the steady beat of his heart could be heard echoing through the hut. More and more spiritual pressure condensed within him. The sensation of boundless strength filling his body only deepened by Xiaochun's determination to cultivate. Yet, as the days passed, the stabbing, needle-like pain spreading throughout his body grew so intense that he could no longer endure it. Panting heavily, bloodshot veins filled his eyes. He felt his body reaching its absolute limit, even though he was continuously absorbing spiritual energy from heaven and earth during cultivation. It was not enough to replenish what he consumed, and the food from the cooking room was not always readily available. Ordinary people cultivated purple qi cauldron control art only once every few days. Even the diligent ones would do so only once per day at most. But Bai Xiaochun paid no heed to day or night. He cultivated ceaselessly, frightening Zhang Daiban and his companions. If the inner sect disciples knew of it, they would surely be shaken. And yet, despite his relentless effort, Bai Xiaochun still felt unsafe. His nature was perfectionist as always, and so he pulled out the spirit grain he had been secretly keeping, holding it in his hand. After a long observation, sensing the spiritual aura radiating from it, he wasted no time and swallowed it. As soon as it entered his body, the grain dissolved into a surge of spiritual energy far richer than ordinary spirit grains. Explosions resounded within Bai Xiaochun's body as he seized the moment, immediately resuming cultivation with the third illustration. Half a month later, late at night, his meditating body suddenly trembled violently. He opened his eyes and realized that his cultivation base had broken through from the second level of qi condensation into the third. This transformation filled him with elation, his expression lighting up with joy. He looked down at his body and saw that the qi channels within him had completely transformed, now resembling a flowing river. The river coursed swiftly through him, much faster than before. With but a thought, he could direct the stream of spiritual energy to any part of his body. Qi condensation, third level. As expected, a spirit grain refined once with spirit essence is extraordinary. Bai Xiaochun stood up, licking his lips, secretly wishing he had a few more of those spirit grains. But he also sensed that his meridians had expanded greatly. According to the manuals, his body needed time to adapt. Further cultivation could not continue immediately. Suppressing his urge, he paced around his room in satisfaction. After a while, he stopped and gazed out the window toward the outer sect. The night was late, the moon faint, and beneath its glow he could see the great tree by the small path outside the cooking room. No Subeokai's sword strike that day was no ordinary one. Even reaching the third level of qi condensation might not be enough to ensure my safety. Frowning deeply, Bai Xiaochun's gaze shifted to the multicolored wooden sword, then to the cauldron in the corner of his room. If I could refine it a second time with spirit essence, it would be much more reliable. Resolving himself, he left the room to collect some spirit wood from the cooking room. After his preparations were complete, that very night he stood before the mysterious cauldron, lit a fire beneath it, and when a glowing pattern appeared on its surface, he hastily tossed in the wooden sword. He waited, but no reaction came. Brow furrowed, Bai Xiaochun stared at the cauldron's patterns and the ashes of the burned wood beneath it. After some thought, he tried again with new spirit wood, lighting fires several times. But still the wooden sword showed no change. These flames are all the same. Could it be the temperature isn't high enough? Do I need a two-colored flame? With that thought, he left once more, and when he returned, he carried a shard of violet wood. There wasn't much of this wood left in the cooking room. He had found only this single piece. Placing the violet wood beneath the cauldron and lighting it, twin-colored flames roared to life, their heat far greater than before. The moment the fire appeared, the second inscription on the cauldron's surface lit up. As the flames dimmed, it seemed as though the cauldron had absorbed all of the fire's power. Before long, the violet would turn to ash, and the second inscription shone brilliantly. Perfect. Bai Shaochun's eyes sparkled. He immediately tossed the wooden sword into the cauldron. A silver light flickered, glowing brighter and lasting longer than during the first refinement. The silver radiance dimmed, then suddenly flared violently. In an instant, it surged straight into Bai Shaochun's body. The light was too fast for him to react. His vision blurred, and an indescribable cold pierced into his body. He could not resist it tonally, watch helplessly as the chilling force condensed and contracted inside him. His face turned pale. He felt as though something within his body was being pulled out and absorbed into the cauldron. Only then did the silver glow vanish, leaving the wooden sword sharper than before, though still appearing weathered and painted in multiple colors. The patterns etched along its surface had transformed. Beneath the faded paint, faint silver lines shimmered. The wooden sword had been completely reborn. Almost simultaneously, thunder rumbled across the skies of Spirit Stream sect's southern bank, shaking countless cultivators. Yet the thunder was fleeting, dispersing as quickly as it came. While the echoes still lingered, a second silver inscription appeared on the sword's body, flashing several times before fading. Staring at the sword, Bai Shaochun's face darkened. He staggered back, nearly collapsing, and only after a long while did he regain his composure. What he had just experienced left him trembling in fear. Something inside me was just taken away. His spirit shaken, Bai Shaochun backed into the wall, bumping into a mirror. Glancing into it, he rubbed his eyes, stunned. In the reflection, a single strand of white hair had appeared amidst his black locks. His appearance had not otherwise changed, but he felt as though he had aged a year. Lifespan, Bai Shaochun cried out in alarm. So that's what was taken from me. My lifespan, He wanted to weep, but no tears came. The purpose of his cultivation was to seek eternal life. Yet before immortality had even shown itself, he had already lost a year of life. The blow was unbearable. I've lost out. Never in all my careful years did I expect that Bai Shaochun would one day suffer such a loss. After standing in a daze for a long while, he finally gave a bitter smile. Once calmer, he lifted his gaze to the glowing inscriptions on the cauldron, a strange glint flickering in his eyes. He sensed that after his lifespan had been taken, a mysterious link had formed between himself and the cauldron as though he could control it. With a flicker of intent, he raised his right hand and pointed at the cauldron. The inscription on it immediately lit up, and in the blink of an eye, the entire cauldron shrank and shot toward him, vanishing into his fingertip. Bai Shaochun froze, stumbling backward, staring at his hand and then at the now empty space where the cauldron had stood. This, he pointed again at the ground. With a loud bang, the cauldron reappeared. After experimenting several times, Bai Shaochun was left both delighted and troubled, sighing deeply in the end. Even though I can now store it within myself, the price of a year of lifespan is simply too steep. The next day at noon, as he was still pondering ways to recover his lifespan, he suddenly looked up outside the cooking room. He sensed 7 or 8 figures rapidly approaching. Back when he was only at the first level of ki condensation, he would never have noticed so soon. But now, at the 3rd level, he clearly perceived that leading the group was none other than Su Baokai. At that very moment, Su Baokai's angry voice resounded. Bai Shaochun, you rely on your senior brothers. But Su Baokai also has his own today. The grudge between you and me will be settled once and for all.